Hail, friend. You were instrumental in ridding Neverwinter of the wailing death, I understand. Allow me to congratulate you on a job well done. You have shown yourself to be possessed of remarkable courage and resourcefulness. That is fortuitous, for both these qualities will be needed if you are to complete your mission. But that is not how we should begin. I am known as Aarin, and I have served our Lord Nasher for some time. Hopefully, I may be of similar use to you now. Indeed, I know who you are. There are many who whisper your name right now, and it is my business to listen to them all. My place lies in the shadows. I have many eyes and ears throughout the northern lands, and it is my place to inform Lord Nasher where the Vipers lay in wait. If only I had foreseen the actions of this cult, I could have prevented the disaster. But these men move skillfully out of my sight and hearing. Instead of recriminating myself for my failure, I must do what I can to repair the damage. And that is to offer what information I have to you, so that you may find where this new nest of vipers hides. Erebeth has informed you of where you must search, yes? She has told you of how you may root out these fiends? Unearthing the cult will not be a simple task. What few whispers I have collected, however, have allowed me to narrow your search to this region. It is vital that the cult's exact location be found, and that we are certain any leads we discover are not attempts at deception. Erebeth will not be satisfied until we find at least 2 separate leads that point to the same locale. That is your task. I do know of one possible lead for you. There has been strange news regarding a series of caves that lie north of Port Last. Investigation may reveal the cult to be hidden there. If not, there are other avenues for you to investigate. The city of Luskan to the north, Neverwinter Wood to the east, and the wildlands of the South Road. I suggest, however, that looking into the caves first would still be your wisest choice. The caves are in the hills to the north of Port Last, near the Green Griffin Inn. They have long been used by humanoid tribes of orcs, bugbears, and the like. They aren't usually a concern. In recent months, however, I have received word that these various humanoid creatures have been raiding the roads south of Luskan. This would not be unusual, except that the creatures now seem very organized and, I hear, are being led by humans. This leads me to believe the cult may be involved. That will be for you to determine. Just keep this in mind. No matter what you find there, Erebeth will wish 2 firm leads on the cult's location before she will act. We cannot afford a mistake. Have you a question for me then, my friend? Aye. What would you have of me? I still serve as Lord Nasher's master of spies, my friend, and his need for proper information is more vital now than even before. My ear must remain to the ground, even if my efforts must be coordinated from here, rather than deeper in the shadows. I shall continue to seek word on the cult that might aid your quest, though I have my doubts in that. You will have far more success than I think. Grim. Lord Nasher reports that many of our armed forces have perished from the plague, and even more are needed to restore order to the city. The worst is perhaps over now that the plague is cured, but still we reel from a crippling blow. It will be some time before things return to what they were. May the luck of the gods be yours, my friend. The gods smile on us that you remain yet unharmed for your efforts. With luck, success shall soon follow. Aye, what would you have of me? That is a curious question, my friend. Nor does it have a simple answer if the truth be known, and is not a tale that I care to often tell. As you wish, my friend.
though I'll not be held responsible should you nod off during the telling of it.
Let me see. Perhaps it is best if I ask you a question first. You are a person of your god, are you not?
How is it that you came into your calling? Was it an accident? Was it born purely of talent? Do you believe you were fated to be what you are? Aye, and no doubt the same could be said for many. Few know that the path they start upon will lead where it does. I myself started life as a slave in the southern deserts of Kalimshan. Never would I have foreseen that I might become who I am today. I knew of the lush and wild jungles of my homeland, Chult, only through the bedtime tales of my mother. I have never laid eyes upon its shore. My mother was owned by a most vicious and cruel caliph. As a slave child, one learns to stay out of sight and to move silently, lest one be beaten. Moreover, I learned to listen. I listened to the chatter of the servants, the bored talk of the guards. For many, many years, I was the shadow in the caliph's halls. For all my hiding, however, I proved of no use to anyone but myself. I could not save my mother when the caliph beat her to death for spilling a tankard of his mead, for instance. I blamed myself regardless, as the young often do. In grief and anger, I stabbed and killed the caliph, and was subsequently chased into the streets of Kalimpur. I fled into the shadows of the city, and was not alone there. I found many who I will call allies and not friends, for we acted in unison only to survive. The law pursued me, so always I remained hidden and listened as I once had. The fact that I was a thief to remain alive did not help. And eventually, even the shadows of the city were no longer safe for me. I sought passage out of the city, and eventually a captain took pity on me and gave me a position aboard his ship. Perhaps you have heard of Randall the Red?
Aye, that he was. A pirate whose reputation along the Sword Coast was more than deserved. I joined his crew, though I was no pirate in truth. I was not fond of drink as the other sailors were, and instead spent my time at each port making new contacts and listening. Over the years, Randall grew to depend on my skill. He gave me gold to establish informants throughout the coast, and I heard news the instant it happened. It was I who kept Randall safe and one step ahead of his pursuers, for always would I know before the chase was on us. I was his master of spies, though I would not have put a name to it at the time. I was grateful for Randall's kindness, for despite his reputation, he was an easy man to like. I was not fond of the looting and pillaging Randall indulged in, and did my best to subtly steer him away from the worst of it. Randall knew what I was doing, and permitted it only because I was otherwise invaluable to him. He cared not if I cringed and turned a cheek when the crew plied the worst of their bloody trade. As the years passed, I came into a certain amount of my own fame along the Sword Coast. My life was my life, and I was satisfied with it, and discharged my duty as best I knew. It was not until I encountered Lord Nasher that my life would change forever. That, however, is another tale. Ask me of it sometime, my friend. And thank you for listening. As I said, it is not a tale I tell often. Back to more important matters. Is there something you needed? I shall hope that the gods keep you safe, my friend. The gods smile on us that you remain. Aye. What would you have of me? Aye, so I did. Though I had not expected that you would be truly interested in hearing the rest of the tale. Are you sure I am not boring you? Ha! Of that I have no doubt. So be it. You will recall, I hope, that I made the majority of my early fame as the spy master for the infamous Randall the Red. Aye? That life continued much unabated. Our ship found safe harborage in Luskan, and Randall plagued the Neverwinter trade lines endlessly. Lord Nasher was not always the aged man you know now. When I first encountered him, he was a man in his prime, a veteran of the sword and in possession of a brilliant mind. Lord Nasher vowed to end Randall's reign over the waterways. He personally sailed from Neverwinter to seek and destroy our ship. I was still a young man at the time, my friend. Our Lord Nasher already had a lifetime of adventure behind him, and was the greatest lord of the North. For 2 years we sparred, he and I. It was all I could do to discover his ingenious plots to find Randall, just in time to avoid them. Never had I labored so. Once, he even disguised himself and his men as Walkeena priestesses shipping gold to Am, knowing that would draw Randall like a moth to the flame. Only at the last moment did I give in to my suspicions and warn Randall from their ship. It was a very close thing, however. In the end, it was I who betrayed Randall. He grew more desperate and more violent, plundering ships and killing all aboard. This he had never done before. When next the shadows told me of Lord Nasher's latest plot, I did nothing. I waited silently and watched as Nasher's men sprung from Randall's latest target. Randall was no true friend. He made use of me, and I had needed him. It was a choice I had to make, and it was no easy one. I fully expected to be executed, and waited grimly as I was rounded up with the rest of Randall's men. My fate, as I saw it, was sealed. I waited a long time in the dungeons of Castle Never. The first man who came to my dark prison, however, was none other than Lord Nasher himself. He was very intense and charismatic, and suspicious. I was, after all, a well-known pirate, yes? He asked me only one question. Why did you not warn Randall the Red of my attack? I told him that even though I served Randall, I could not allow what he was doing to continue. Lord Nasher seemed surprised by my answer. So you would betray any man you served if you did not agree with his actions? He asked me. And I had only one answer. I said I would betray any man who I felt was wrong, and my only regret was that I had waited as long as I did with Randall. He smiled at me, and said that he only hoped that if he did something wrong, that I would tell him first. I asked him if this meant I was to serve him now. To that he said, no. I was to serve Neverwinter. That was to be my sentence. I am 20 years into my sentence now, my friend, and I have been thankful for each year of it. That he is, my friend, that he is. And Neverwinter is a place I love. I could not have found a prison that suited me better. And had I left, I never would have met my Kali. It is nothing, my friend. Something best forgotten that I should not have brought up. Your original question has been answered, I hope. Let us return to the topic of your mission and speak no more of me today. I shall await your return then. Be safe and Godspeed. The gods smile on us that you remain. Aye, what would you have of me? I did. That I mentioned her at all was by accident, my friend. I have been determined to avoid those memories for many years now. I suppose one cannot leave the story unfinished. As you wish then, my friend. Kali is short for Kaliara. She was of elven blood, a woman of extraordinary beauty and adventuresome spirit. She ran the Guild of Thieves in Neverwinter, you see, when I first began my sentence. She was also the first task Lord Nasher set me to. I was to see to her capture and to reduce the power of the Guild in the city. And I was eager enough to do so,
though I did not know what I was up against. Not at all. For quite some time, she and I were the most dire of foes. Kaliara stirred her entire guild against me, and assassins stalked my every step. The thieves had been used to holding power in the city, and did not care to be dislodged. I used every trick I knew to no avail. Finally, I chose to disguise myself and infiltrate her guild, determined to look upon my foe and end her life personally. It took me a great deal of time to do so. Kaliara trusted few, and I had to work my way up in the ranks over time until I was able to enter her inner circle. No, not at all. I killed her. I should have done it sooner, when I was first trusted enough to be alone in her presence. But I was too intrigued and foolish. She enthralled me. I found her soul so similar to my own, and we drew together immediately. Despite my misgivings, I gave in and allowed myself to love her. I knew it would not last. I discovered her plan to kill Lord Nasher, and knew that the time had come to tell her who I was. It was my hope to dissuade her from her life. She was not angry, as I thought she would be. Merely disappointed, perhaps, as she drew her sword. To strike her down was almost unthinkable. As we parried, I begged her to reconsider, to leave her life, to stay with me, and I would protect her from Lord Nasher's wrath. I will not change for you, Aarin, even as you would not change for me. Let it end here. Though tears blurred my eyes, upon those words I ran her through. She died moments later as we exchanged one final kiss. Thank you. I have never told another that tale. I am glad to have shared it with you. You are an intriguing woman yourself. I consider myself fortunate to have been assigned to you. Perhaps in time we might get to know one another better. As good friends. Would you care at all for that? I am pleased. Of course, there is much else that needs to be done. Perhaps we can speak of this another time. I shall await your return then. Be safe and Godspeed. Greetings, my dear friend. The presence of such a charming woman as yourself is always welcome. How may I serve? Aye, what would you have of me? Do I seem uncomfortable to your eyes? I shall amend my stance then, for I do not wish you to feel ill at ease. Aye, perhaps I do at that. Perhaps to maintain what dignity I have then, I should speak plainly. I am not accustomed to dealing closely with others. I am too used to the shadows, remaining unknown and unknowable. You, however, have forced me to re-examine that part of myself. I find myself keenly aware of you, of your absence when you leave, and I fear for your safety. I fear that you might not return. Aye, for you are a marvel of a woman. Powerful, competent, and full of courage. Easily the equal of any man, and I admire you for it. But I fear there are still dark times ahead, where even your power and courage will be tested. The shadows about you may become such that you fear you are alone, and cannot find your way out of them. Take this. It was given to me by my mother long ago, so that she knew I would always find my way out of the shadows. Take it, and be reminded that there is one who prays for your safe return. I know that you will. Let us speak of other things then, for you have much to do.
I shall await your return then. Be safe and Godspeed. I shall pray for your success, my dear friend. Be safe, for I could not bear your loss.